Dinosaurs have long haunted our imagination. But much of what we knew about dinosaurs is wrong. T-Rexes may have been good parents. Their children may have had feathers. And some dinosaurs even survived the asteroid apocalypse.
I think one of the things I've learned as a paleontologist is that you never say never. I find it difficult to believe that all dinosaurs were wiped out in this single event.
The Dinosaur Revolution has really radically changed our understanding of dinosaurs in so many ways. T-Rex probably had much more complex social behaviors than we gave it credit for many, many years.
The T-Rex that we understand now is not the one that I grew up with. But quite frankly, it's a far more impressive creature.
No one will ever look at a T-Rex the same way again. Montana, the late Cretaceous. A nesting pair of T-Rexes takes the afternoon off. Youngsters play, even T-Rexes. Like many young animals, they play for a reason: to perfect their hunting skills. Cannibalism serves a function and is surprisingly common in many modern species.
It's a really exciting time to study dinosaurs. And among these, T-Rex is probably the most exciting field, because we are doing more new techniques and more types of studies on tyrannosaurs in the last 10 years than we are for any other dinosaur species.
One thing we have learned is that an apex predator was vulnerable to attack, typically from another apex predator.
Any dinosaur had a tough life, but a predator like T-Rex had a really tough life. When we look at the fossil record, we see many skeletons of Tyrannosaurus that show injuries on the body.
Proof can be found in this upper arm bone of a T-Rex. Throughout the bone, we can see massive damage, suggesting that the arm had almost been pulled off, most likely by another Rex.
So it may be that, at least at times, a T-Rex was another T-Rex's worst enemy.
As the day of reckoning draws near, our T-Rexes work together to go for the kill. And an old enemy returns when the revolution continues. A nesting pair of T-Rexes loses their children after the attack of a cannibalistic rival. But life must go on. As with most dinosaurs, very few T-Rexes survive into adulthood. The odds have not favored this mother. These T-Rexes team up for maximum killing advantage. The Dinosaur Revolution has taught us things about T-Rex we never thought we could know.
We know a lot about how it grew up. We know that Tyrannosaurus had a growth profile that looked a lot like humans, that it sort of went through this juvenilehood in this period of being like a teenager, got to be full-sized in its early 20s, and most of them probably didn't live much further than their 30s.
New discoveries have shown us that T-Rex was a cannibal. There are pieces of T-Rex bone that are marked by teeth that could only have been made by another T-Rex. It's pretty conclusive evidence that T-Rex fed on other T-Rex from time to time.
The struggle for survival as a nesting pair of T-Rexes tries to bring life into a world that will soon end.
I think it's quite possible that Tyrannosaurus may have had parental care.
When the revolution continues. It's hard to imagine an anxious T-Rex hovering over a nest unless you are part of the Dinosaur Revolution.
Beginning in the 1980s, we started to find more and more nests and eggs of dinosaurs. We can now say with some confidence that they looked after their young.
In fact, we have evidence. In the mid-1990s in Mongolia, paleontologists found a skeleton of what's called an oviraptorosaur sitting on a nest of eggs. So I think there's very solid evidence that dinosaurs brooded their nests, and probably quite a bit of evidence that they cared for their young to some degree as well.
We know that crocodiles, which are distant relatives of dinosaurs, have parental care, and also many birds today have parental care. So it's certainly very possible that Tyrannosaurus itself may have cared for its young.
A 6-ton T-Rex sitting like a bird on a nest of fragile eggs seems improbable. It's more likely that some protective covering was built. And that was just the beginning of a perilous journey.
It's really sad to think about, but most baby dinosaurs were born to die, and born to die when they were really young. A mama dinosaur probably laid 10 clutches in her life, and yet in nature, on average, only one baby makes it to adulthood per parent.
Not only could hatchlings be picked off at will by predators, even incubating eggs was a dangerous process. The more eggs, the better the odds one will survive. Eggs are easy targets for predators during the many long weeks they lie in the nest. And nests need to be built from available materials. For the woods are alive with danger, as creatures who would not dare to attack an adult Rex have no such reservations towards their young. Eggs are porous, allowing the embryo to breathe through the shell. Rising water can cause drowning. This T-Rex is halfway home. But it is not out of the woods. A new life begins, just in time to witness the end of his world. A day that is coming soon.
The effect of this asteroid impact is the closest the world has seen to nuclear winter.
But life still goes on when the revolution continues. If the T-Rex symbolizes all that is ferocious and predatory, it did share the planet with creatures that possessed none of these attributes. Although the old ankylosaur's eyesight is weak, his highly developed sense of smell, once cleared for action, is his window to the world. A Rexling is now a teenager. But he still has a youngster's curiosity. And this new armored toy is irresistible. The 6-mile-wide asteroid hit on the northern coast of the Yucatan Peninsula at a speed of 12.4 miles per second and blew a hole in the Earth nearly 88 miles wide and 19 miles deep. The explosive power was the equivalent of 1 billion Hiroshima bombs. The impact created mega tsunamis reaching hundreds of meters high, while superheated debris ignited wildfires across the northern hemisphere. Shockwaves from the impact caused massive earthquakes and volcanic eruptions.
Certainly, anything in the pathway of the asteroid would have been incinerated. It would have been terrible to have been, standing at ground zero when this giant rock fell out of the sky. For animals and plants that weren't in the immediate area of the impact, it would have been a slow and painful demise. This thing blasts a bunch of dust into the sky. That dust gradually encircles the globe, and before too long, you've got most of the Earth, enveloped in a cloud of dust.
The effect of this asteroid impact is the closest the world has seen, and let us hope the closest the world will ever see, to nuclear winter. What scientists predict would be the result of a full-on global thermonuclear war.
But extinction may have been a slow process, not a sudden event. Now, the last dinosaurs try to survive in a winter that has no end, when the revolution continues. 65 million years ago, Earth is shrouded in ash and darkness. This darkness devastates the planet's food cycle as vegetation dies from lack of light.
All dinosaurs eat sunlight. That's kind of strange to think about, because after all, plants feed on sunlight. Herbivores feed on plants, and carnivores eat the herbivores. You cut off the sunlight and you plunge the world into darkness. And the longer and more protracted the darkness goes, the longer the starvation goes.
The interesting thing about extinctions is it's often the best adapted animals that actually go extinct. So if there's a specific type of animals that you need to eat, or a specific type of plant, or maybe even just a specific part of the ecosystem that you have to be in, and that part is wiped out, well, you're going to be the first to go then.
Did it happen overnight or in a period of days, weeks, or was it years, or was it thousands or millions of years? I find it difficult to believe that all dinosaurs, other than birds, were wiped out in this single event.
One creature in particular may have been one of those last survivors.
If we were to think about the dinosaurs other than birds that were around at the end of the Mesozoic, who would be the most likely to survive the longest in the Great Extinction event? I think it would probably be Troodon.
Troodon's a very interesting animal. It's found all the way from Alaska down to the southern United States. It is an odd beast because its teeth don't really tell us if it's a full-on carnivore, and many paleontologists now would say that it probably did both.
Troodon has a number of anatomical adaptations that suggest that it would have been relatively well adapted to survive after the asteroid impact. First of all, it has big eyes, so it could probably see in the dark. Secondly, its teeth suggest that its diet would have been quite varied. Thirdly, it has feathers, and so it would be insulated from the cold of a nuclear winter.
Of any of the dinosaurs around at the end of the Cretaceous period, I would expect that Troodon and its close relatives may have had the best shot to survive.
Catastrophe tends to favor the indiscriminate and the improvisational. There is strong evidence that, like penguins and ostriches, Troodons involve the males in the child-rearing process. They may have even sat on the eggs. But first, there have to be eggs. These nesting pairs are bonded for life, lives that are fast running out. The female leaves in search of food. The male shields the nest. The male cries for his mate, but she cannot hear. As the long winter descends, the battle for survival goes on. When the revolution continues. The reign of the dinosaurs ended with one catastrophic impact. Although their reign was over, the Troodon may have survived, not just because they were the right size and ate a wide range of foods, but also because they may have been the smartest of dinosaurs.
Troodon was one of the first dinosaurs for which the brain size was pretty accurately measured. One of the first and only raptor dinosaurs.
That ratio, brain to body size, is quite high in Troodon, one of the highest ratios of any dinosaur. Now, in the modern world, intelligence generally correlates with brain size to body size. And so if that held true in the age of dinosaurs, then it's likely that Troodon was one of the smarter dinosaurs that we've discovered so far.
From stealing eggs, to parenting, and hunting, the Troodon may have exhibited its intelligence in many ways.
And yet, with all this going for it, Troodon didn't make it. I personally think it probably lasted the longest of the dinosaurs other than the birds, but sad to say, the Troodonts are no more.
The day of the dinosaur is over, but their night still has a few hours to go. The former rulers of the planet are now frozen corpses. In perpetual winter, the last few dinosaurs try to survive.
seen many things in the Dinosaur Revolution. One of the greatest discoveries is that at least some dinosaurs survived one of the worst events the Earth has seen, and these are birds.
And so in that sense, dinosaurs aren't extinct. We eat them for Thanksgiving. And so dinosaurs are all around us.
By any stretch, and by any measure, dinosaurs were a success story. We think that because we're here right now, that we're the best. But that's like criticizing your great-great-grandparents because they're not here anymore and you are. Everything dies over time.
Human beings? Eventually everything goes extinct.